Now, another big one for me personally, because I did follow the school incident with the kids being taught inappropriate content, and it made its rounds around our state. But taking pressure off school education is another big one, and I follow this quite closely myself. I was, in contact with the people from Guardian South Australia who were actively involved with things that are being taught in school. But in regards to taking pressure off education, our schools are in crisis. They're putting a wedge between you and your kids by teaching them dangerous gender ideologies. Not only is this dangerous, but it's just one more thing for parents to worry about. You shouldn't have to worry about what your kid is being taught in school. Families First will take pressure off education on parents by getting education back to basics. We'll support non-government schools and give parents more choice about where their children are educated and the values they're taught in school. So, and before I get you to kind of talk into that a little bit more, we know that there's constantly pressure from the South Australian Greens and the Greens in regards to challenging faith-based schools on their hiring practices of people with similar values. So that's another thing that I guess is important for candidates like yourself and Deepa to be in the Legislative Council to be able to push back on that on behalf of parents that are concerned about this drift. Is that right?
Yep, exactly right. So we will never agree to the Greens' proposals to remove the protective clauses or balancing clauses from the Anti-Discrimination Act. We will fight that tooth and nail.
Yep. And that's the content that that they're teaching in some of these schools. It's just that slow creep. And it hasn't happened by accident. A lot of people are saying there's obviously a deliberate, almost agenda to get this sort of stuff into schooling. We had safe schools and all those sorts of programs that kind of come out heavily in Victoria and that. So it almost seems like there's a deliberate attempt to get this into schools. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We hear a lot about what's happening in Victoria. It's happening here, right from preschool. Children are being taught that you choose whether you're a boy or a girl, that there's sex and gender is on a continuum, and it flows right the way through, right to high school. The South Australian Education Department has a policy and a procedure document in relation to kids with gender confusion, and those documents expressly say, and you can check it out on the website, that if a child wants to adopt a different name at school and the parents don't agree, the site leader has the right to allow that child to be called by its preferred name at school and to use the proper name to the parents, so in effect to deceive the parents. Now, that came in under the Weatherall government. I raised it with the then Shadow Minister, John Gardner, before he became the Education Minister. When he became the Education Minister, I met with the Chief of Staff and raised it. They did nothing. When Blair Boyer became the Education Minister, I met with him personally and raised it with him, and he did nothing. So this is an area where the two majors have deliberately allowed this to happen. And we will fight this with everything we have. We will expose it, because one of the great curatives for this is sunlight. They run for cover. They do not want this exposed, but we will continue to expose it, what's happening. And it's in the curriculum, it is embedded. It takes a long time to find it. You generally find it in health and phys ed, buried in there. I've had the privilege of being able to read some of these some of these curricular documents. They're not readily available, and we have to expose it, and we will do that. We will do that, because this is destroying kids. This is absolutely confusing and destroying kids, and it has to stop.
Yeah, well, I also wrote concerns in regards to a lot of states are changing their tact in regards to puberty blockers for minors and the harms of that. and still obviously haven't had a response. I copied in Liberal as well, but it's quite disappointing that with these sorts of things that it has to rely on people like yourself, Family First, if you happen to get elected, to be really challenge this and push this to the forefront, where you're almost expected that this should be something that the Liberal Party should be doing quite heavily as well, but unfortunately not. So it needs people that will challenge it up in the Legislative Council, but hopefully also candidates in the lower house as well.
Yeah, the only thing that's ever changed the world, Mark, is small groups of people committed. So there's no point bemoaning that the big boys aren't doing it. We've got to get off our butt and do something, and we can. And we've been fighting in this space. I've been fighting in this space for years now. I'm running cases. I helped run a conference last year, and we can bring change, and it is coming slowly. Queensland's now changed, Northern Territory's changed. South Australia's got a terrible policy that says that kids who are being sent to puberty blockers do not need, as of course, to see a psychiatrist to get assessed before they go on there. That's written into our policy. That's got to be exposed. So we've got a lot of work to do. But one of the things we will do is bring in a parental rights bill that will say that parents have got the school has to tell the parents what they're going to teach, and the parents have got the right to exclude their children from any classes like that. The government acknowledged that in that Renmark case, there's public knowledge, that they had failed in obtaining consent of parents when those terrible things were taught. So we have to be in there fighting for this. This is our kids. This is our kids and our grandkids, and we can't drop the ball on this.